Hey, this is Seth with In Demand Career. I show people how to get jobs in digital marketing with no previous experience or education, and also how to work remotely from anywhere in the world. And I am currently in Thailand. Very fortunate to be here, and as you can see, the beach is looking quite lovely. So I wanted to make one of my inspirational videos, and this one is called "With Great Responsibility Comes Great Power." Now, you might have heard kind of the opposite quote from the Spider-Man movies, which is "with great power comes great responsibility," something Uncle Ben says to Peter Parker about his spider powers. And I think that that quote is complete bullshit. Because if you look at the world, the people in power are not responsible people. They are usually terrible people who abuse their power. So this idea that kind of a guilt-ridden, like, well, if you have power, you should be responsible, is not an empowering statement. However, with great responsibility comes great power. That is a powerful statement, because one of the biggest pitfalls to success that people have is a lack of true accountability and responsibility. It is so deliciously convenient to blame other people, the world, situations, your family, your parents, your upbringing, your gender, your race, any external circumstance for your situation. And the common denominator between successful and happy people that I found is that they take responsibility. I say successful, I mean truly successful, not somebody who's got like a trust fund and is an irresponsible person. I mean, you have to take responsibility for all aspects of your life. So when I say responsibility, that word has got a really bad rap, guys. It's not about obligation or guilt. It's not. It's a great freaking thing to be responsible. You know how great it is to me to be responsible for my own finances. You know, when I was in my 20s, I was like so irresponsible. You know, I would quit jobs. I had a bad attitude. You know, I was still relying on my parents for a lot of help, and I was very lucky to have parents that would help me. But it was just such a nasty, it was such a gross feeling of not being fully responsible. And when I took responsibility for my bad attitude and for the things in my life that weren't working, that's when everything changed. And I developed a great attitude. And it was right around the time I found digital marketing. I found this CD series and I took it very seriously. And the guy was saying, I have to get into the shade a little bit, it's really bright here. If you look at your life as your own creation, and you're the creator of your life, nobody else is. Your family isn't, your culture isn't, your background isn't, nothing. You are the author of your life. And you created everything. You created all the great stuff that happened, and you created all the terrible stuff. You created all the pain and the suffering and the misfortune. I created being broke. I created being sick. I created this unfortunate, mysterious experience. But I created it all. And if you have that point of view, then you have power. You absolutely have power. Because you can say, okay, I created this terrible thing, now I'm going to take the steps to uncreate it. That's why people come into my course who are in bad situations and they have that attitude of, okay, I'm going to take this skill set and I'm going to work it and I'm going to be responsible for my results. They get great results. But if you have the attitude that a lot of people do, especially these days, of, oh, it's not my fault, it's my family's fault, it's the culture's fault, it's the conditions I was born into fault, you have no power. The cost of blaming outside circumstances is that you give up your power. Now, I know everybody's in different circumstances, you know. It's like if you're born and you don't have arms and legs, you have many more challenges than the average person. If you're born into a lower income place versus, say, our current president, who's like, oh, it's easy, and he was handed like $6 million when he was 20 years old, right? That made it a little easier for him. Put that all aside to look at your given situation and see where you are not being responsible in your own mind. You know, I had the same, it's very, very, the problem is with what's happening in the world today, it's very easy to fall into this mindset of victim and not being responsible. You want to maintain your level of responsibility even during what's happening in the world. Maintain your power. That's why the students I have, like Basma is a great example. Look at this. Look at this young woman. She came from this terrible circumstance. I know people who've had such less difficult lives than her, who are so much less responsible and so much more whiny about their lives than this young woman who lived through a freaking war. You know, no electricity for 4 years, bombs dropping, outside of her house. And she could be walking around in the US holding on to that like, oh my God, I can't believe I had to deal with that. It's the government. I blame the government over there. And she could be just full of, that's not her attitude. Her attitude is one of responsibility. She's like, I was responsible during that time of my life. Now she's in America. She has all these opportunities. She's responsible for that. The other problem, if you're not fully responsible, is you end up, when you fall into blame, you also end up, getting really distracted and put your energy onto, you get stuck in the past, you get stuck with a lot of negative energy. This is a really common thing, guys. And, I really encourage you to take a look at it. And I say that to and when I get people writing to me in the US, if they say something like, oh, I'm broke, I can't afford your course, like, do you live in the United States of America? Okay, you're being completely irresponsible. I don't care how broke you are, you can get a minimum wage job. Even in the economy right now, you can get a minimum wage job, which in many states is now $15 an hour, and you could save up to get $500. It's not a lot of money, versus, and I even have people in third world countries where people make $3 a day, and some of them say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't afford your program. Other people are like, okay, I'm gonna work my ass off and save up this money. And it's the attitude. It's the attitude, guys. I'll tell you. It's not gonna magically, you're not gonna become Superman and fly into outer space, but it has that emotionally, and in terms of how you interact with people and the results you can produce with other people, it really makes that big of a difference. I mean, my whole life changed in 2013 when I really took this stuff seriously. With great responsibility comes great power. The more responsible and accountable you are being for all aspects of your life, the more power you will have. And this can be very confronting, as I was saying before. I mean, there might be aspects of your life that are really fucked and really out of sorts, and you've really not been responsible. You might have, this is just like the situation of the person who's overweight and out of shape. And I found myself in this situation, not overweight, but out of shape. And it's like that, going to the gym is like the hardest thing in the world. And it could be the same way with your finances, making those first steps to to balance, actually keep an eye on where you're spending your finances. And then, learning a new skill set, or having a tough conversation with your boss, or quitting a job that isn't working for you and you're miserable, but you've been avoiding it. Or having a tough conversation with a loved one. There's like a weird false security in avoiding responsibility. It's got a payoff that every person gets a little charge out of it, and it's kind of like a little bit, it's just comfortable enough where people will avoid taking action. I'm telling you, it's not someplace you want to be long term, because it really renders you powerless when you avoid responsibility. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna go swim. Just remember the flip side of this, guys. Responsibility is that, you can say, oh, I'm responsible for this problem, I'm responsible, but then you're also responsible for your success. And if you're the type of person who avoids responsibility, when you do have success, it'll be that much harder for you to really own it. You want to be someone who can accept responsibility for the good and the bad. Really, there's no bad, it's just learning. So I hope this is helpful. I'm gonna go swim, and leave comments and questions below, and I'll see you in the next video.